So, I mean, I think that almost all societies that have become successful have done so by educating themselves in some real sense out of an instinctive false compassion and envy. And because those are there at hand, they always have to be, what would you say, they always have to be pushed back against. They always have to be differentiated. So what's the difference between wealth and theft? Well, someone might not come up with that idea on their own, but once it's presented to them, especially to a young person, especially given that the system is not fair in the ultimate sense, it presents a very difficult conundrum. Especially also because some people do have more than others because they're psychopathic and manipulative, Machiavellian, and they don't play fair. So for me, the miracle is that there are any societies at all where that isn't the case all the time, where the tyrants just aren't victorious. And one of the things I really like about the ethos of the West is that I think the central ethos of the West is precisely the spirit that moves effectively against tyranny, is not the cause of tyranny. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't tyrannical elements of the West, because of course there are. But what I'm very afraid of on the radical front is that to the degree that the radicals even want what they want, they're pursuing it in a manner that's so counterproductive that if they were victorious, it would destroy the very thing they purport to support.
Oh, absolutely. So. Well, your good friend Douglas Murray's written about this war on the West. How do we prevail in the age of unreason?
The only way to prevail is to tell a better story, right? And you need a better story than the Marxist story. And I think the story of meaning through responsibility is a better story. And it's a core, you might think about it as, it's certainly the core Christian story, meaning through responsibility. I mean, I suppose responsibility extended to the ultimate degree is something like voluntary self-sacrifice to the highest good. It's something like that. Because to take responsibility means to forego immediate gratification in the service of something longer term and higher, right? It literally means it's a sacrificial gesture to take responsibility. And the ultimate sacrifice is the sacrifice of the self to the highest good. And that's exemplified by the image of the crucifixion. It's exemplified by the Passion story. And that's the central sacrifice upon which our cultures are founded. It's even literally the case. I was in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem recently with Jonathan Pajot, and that was the first Christian church, and it's hypothetically founded on the very spot where Christ was crucified. And so the church marks the point of optimal sacrifice. And so then the church becomes the center of the community. So the center of the church is the point of self-sacrifice. The church is the center of the community. That's what happened in Jerusalem when it was refounded by the Emperor Constantine's mother. And then that became the literal model for the establishment of towns and cities throughout Europe. This is literally how the culture was founded. And that divine sacrifice is the voluntary adoption of ultimate responsibility. And that's the correct story. And so, and we don't know that. We don't know that that's the central story, not consciously. We're struggling towards making that conscious. And for this, I believe that for the culture to be set back up on its foundations, we're going to have to return to the origins and know the place for the first time, in T.S. Eliot's words.